It's great to have you here because just few people know the inner workings of the FBI better than you do. And you've also personally experienced the pressure from Donald Trump. And when you see him promising this wholesale takeover of the Justice Department, I wonder how you worry about what that would look like.
Yeah, Caitlin, I mean, I worry a lot about it. And I think it's, when you think about these things and you try to predict how Donald Trump is going to react or the steps he's going to take, you really don't have to go any further than listening to the things he says and does. I mean, his comments recently are offensive and horrendous, but they're not surprising in any way. He's been saying this for quite some time. I will be your retribution is his refrain to his supporters. So, you know him, you know what motivates him. He is not a person who's driven by principle or ideology. He is someone who's entirely transactional. And if he feels like he's been wronged in some way, then he focuses on revenge and vengeance. And so he's made it perfectly clear that that's what he's going to do. And in the process of seeking that, he is going to he runs the risk of really dismantling and greatly incapacitating the Department of Justice and the FBI. And that is something that Americans on both sides of the political aisle should be worried about. Yeah. We depend on those institutions to protect us.
Well, what do you think
and he is proposing to tear them down.
What do people inside the FBI think when they hear a comment like that?
It's terrifying. It's frightening. I have a lot of conversations with former colleagues, people who are or were in the intelligence and law enforcement community and may have worked in, the Obama administration, other places. And, people are really trying to assess, what is life going to be like if Donald Trump wins a second term? And on a very personal level, I mean, these are torturous discussions with their family members about whether or not they have to leave the country to avoid being unconstitutionally and illegally detained. I mean, people are actually worried about being thrown in jail or grabbed in some sort of extrajudicial detention. And I think, as crazy as this sounds in the United States of America, I think people should really consider that these are possibilities. Listen to what the man says. He typically does what he says, as crazy as it seems. And that's really all the indicators you need.
Go ahead. Leave now while you can. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Is anyone going to be upset if a few treasonous hit the road? The only reason why anybody would be upset is because you cowards can't face the music. It's so sad that people in the FBI are talking about fleeing the country because they couldn't stand up and take what Donald Trump has had to take for the last couple months, last couple years. Cowards. And as you've seen, the media is already pushing out stories about Trump coming in like Ivan the Terrible and seeking revenge against everybody who wronged him. Maybe they should be worried.
Will you pledge to restore equal justice, equal application of our laws, end this practice of weaponization? Is that a promise you're going to make?
You have to do it. Look, what I've gone through, nobody's ever gone through. I'm a very legitimate person. I built a great business. I have been under siege. Nobody's ever seen anything like this in this country. But it's awful. Look, I know you want me to say something.
No, I don't want you to say. I'm asking.
But I don't want to look naive.
I don't want
What they've done to the Republican Party, they want to arrest on no crime. They want to arrest the person that won the nomination in a landslide. There was nobody even close. In a landslide. The person that got millions of votes, more votes than any other sitting president in history in the last election. The person that won an election that he wasn't expected to win against Hillary Clinton in 2016. They want to arrest that person on no crime. They want to arrest, there was no crime. There was no criminality, there was no crime. And you can go back to all of these legal scholars. They can't believe what's happening. Some of them don't even like me, and they're saying this is a very, very dangerous thing that's happening. No, we can't let this happen. And I will do everything in my power not to let. But there's tremendous criminality here. What they're doing to me, if it's going to continue, we're really not going to have much of a country.
Actually, they shouldn't be worried at all. They should be afraid.
And I said, wouldn't it really be bad, with like, as an example, Hillary, with the hammering of her cell phones and all of the things she did. But wouldn't it be terrible to throw the president's wife and the former Secretary of State, think of it, the former Secretary of State, but the president's wife into jail? Wouldn't that be a terrible thing? But they want to do it. So, it's a terrible, terrible path that they're leading us to. And it's very possible that it's going to happen to them.
And the reason all these people are worried and afraid is because they all lied. And just think, they called all of us conspiracy theorists. But now, we all have been proven 100% correct. They all got on national television with the help of the media, looked in a camera, and lied to our faces over and over. And that includes Dementia Joe.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President?
again with Russia.
That's the face of guilt. That's the face of unadulterated evil. So now that they're all worried about Trump's revenge, I have a question. And I'm going to direct it at some people in the government and the media who watch my videos. And yes, I know some of y'all be watching my videos. And I guess everyone else can play along and hear these questions and answer them as well. Here's the main question. What would you do if you found out that the entirety of the government and the media were working against you, that they were working on the biggest attack on a single individual in American history? What would you do if the government and the media began to attack your friends? What would you do if the government and the media attacked your family, your business associates, your employees? What would you do if the government and the media worked together to eliminate your way of life? What if the government and the media tried to ruin your business? What if they tried to ruin your family's name? What if they tried to ruin your marriage? What if they tried to take away your children and grandchildren's inheritance? And of course, what would you do if the government and the media worked hard in collusion to take away your freedom? And never mind the fact what you would do if the government and the media worked hand in hand to publish the most vile stories they could find about you, even the ones that they could make up. Like you're interested in having Russian hookers pee on you. Remember that story? And what would you do if the government and the media worked together to create and promote wars and disease just because they were afraid of you telling the truth? And what would you do if you found out that the government and the media were working together to destroy America with fraud, deceit, and lies? And what would you do if you found out that the government and the media intentionally harmed millions of Americans, took away their businesses, didn't allow them to see loved ones, let them have to endure with loved ones dying without familial touch? What would you do if all of that took place? And what would you do if they told you you had to close your business and that your kids couldn't go to school, and then they treated you like a lab rat, all the while doing this for the mere pleasure, the mere intention of keeping you from telling the truth? I'm sorry, I realize that was a lot more than one question, but you get my point. And most of you know every single thing I just outlined the government and the media specifically did to Donald Trump. So those questions beg for answers. What would you do if you're Donald Trump, if you regained power and had the ability to right these wrongs? If you're an honest person, of course you would seek revenge. But before we do some of the things like they did to Donald Trump up in New York and just, made up charges and went through some sort of trial that was a complete sham and found him guilty, let me show you a little bit of evidence of what the media and the government did collectively to Donald Trump.
Tonight, the Trump campaign is accusing Twitter and Facebook of censorship after the social media companies blocked the spread of an unverified story about former Vice President Joe Biden's son and a laptop allegedly full of his old emails. It's a story raising concerns about whether it's real or just designed to sow confusion in the final weeks of the election.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Eric O'Neill is a former FBI operative.
As I show you this, and some of you may have seen it, I've been jotting down all these people's names because I've been looking on Twitter and elsewhere to see if they've had the balls, the cojones, to apologize yet.
Steal the information with a cyber attack, get the emails from Hunter Biden's account, and then put them on these laptops that are left at a repair store, and that's how the information is now laundered into the public.
Who do you think is behind this?
The media. You are. You specifically. You in the media and you in government. That's who's behind all of this.
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess.
Social media outlets were quick to limit the spread of the story.
This is before Elon Musk bought Twitter. This is under the old Twitter regime, which is one of the reasons I'm pretty sure that Elon Musk decided to distance himself from that crap show that was Twitter.
Twitter briefly suspending the accounts of the Trump campaign and White House press secretary after they tried to share it.
Twitter and Facebook have limited the distribution of that Hunter Biden story, and last night Twitter appeared to suspend the Twitter account of White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany when she tried to share that story.
You know a story is shady when Facebook is saying, whoa, maybe people shouldn't see this.
For a long time, Giuliani has been openly working to dig up dirt and promote disinformation on the Bidens. And now, the Washington Post is also reporting that the intelligence community was so concerned that the Russians were using Giuliani to feed Russian disinformation to the president that they warned the White House about it last year.
Who are these people that they get their information from? Somebody needs to root down deep and find out who's writing this script. Who gave these people this information? I know some of them may just be, quote, doing their job and they're reading the script in front of them or being forced to read the script in front of them. But who gave them this information? Nobody decided to verify it or check it. They just took whatever came from Washington and said, oh yeah, that's true. Let's go ahead and make sure that happens. That could never happen again.
We're being told by two people who have been briefed on what the FBI is doing is that
my sources,
they're looking into whether these unverified emails about Hunter Biden published by the New York Post about foreign business dealings are part of the bigger Russian disinformation effort, which is well underway in these final days of the 2020 race.
Notice, and I want to take a notice for you, as this is all going on, notice what's in the right-hand corner of this piece about disinformation. As they're talking about disinformation because of the laptop, they're pushing another scam on the American people. I can't say it, but you can see it and you know what I mean. We just heard the little elf himself get up in front of Congress and he lied as well. They have done so many things, such evil stuff, just to stop Donald Trump.
The intelligence community has said for months that Russia is very actively engaged in a disinformation campaign in the 2020 election, in particular against Joe Biden, to denigrate his campaign in favor of President Trump.
I think there are a lot of issues related to this
guy,
New York Post story that reportedly referenced Hunter Biden emails. And as I and several of my former colleagues have pointed out publicly, that it does bear the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
Hallmarks of Russian disinformation. That's an interesting statement. What are the other things that Russia has done that has been disinformation as determined by you people? Because at this point, we need to begin questioning everything. I can't believe the three-letter agencies. I can't believe the media. I don't know who we trust other than Trump, because we now know that it has been nothing more than one huge coup. You guys all work together. The media, many of the social media agency platforms, as well as the actual government work together to take down one man. And you didn't care how you hurt other Americans. Didn't even care. How do you sleep at night? How do you sleep at night knowing what you did to so many people around the country? Are dollars worth that much? Or is it something else you're worried about people finding out? There must be some dark secrets, some skeletons in these closets that are much more than dollars that these people are concerned about because they didn't want Trump to know.
Committee Chair Adam Schiff, who said this discussion over Hunter Biden and the story that came out in the New York Post that is highly questionable and dubiously sourced is part of a Russian.
You notice how they infuse that stuff now? Before, the news would just say, here's the news. Here's what Schiff said. Here's what Fred said. Here's what the president said. Just report the news. Now they put these little interjections in. Dubiously sourced, unverified, unconfirmed, rebuked. This isn't news anymore. You are living through propaganda at its best. I mean, at its best.
And disinformation campaign.
Well, what I can tell you for sure is that Rudy Giuliani was the source of this hard drive and this information for the.
This guy should be voted out right there. Right there. They have film. I don't know which state he is. I believe he's a congressman in California. He specifically just said Rudy Giuliani was the source. He looked in the camera, had no qualms about lying to his constituents. Why isn't the media calling this guy out right now? Well, because they're partners. That's the only reason. They are partners in what happened. Otherwise, everybody would be looking at this guy right now and all the people in this video and sticking a microphone in their face and going, hey, you said this, you lied. You said definitely. You didn't say maybe. You didn't say I think. You said Giuliani was the source. You lied.
The New York Post story. Also, the intelligence community has been saying repeatedly that Rudy Giuliani is the vehicle for Russian disinformation right now about Hunter Biden and the Bidens.
If these people all have connections to the intelligence community, and the intelligence community, whatever that means, is telling these people what they want them to say, what do they have on this guy? Who is this guy that they can just basically talk back channel and say this is what the deal is? I think it's a crock of poop, you know what I mean?
To say that there's no evidence that somehow these emails and text messages or this hard drive is part of a potentially a Russian disinformation campaign doesn't make any sense to me, Hallie.
Biden story, which we haven't covered as much for.
By the way, the guy in the middle here used to be, I think, the president of the RNC. Can't even believe that Michael Steele was at one point the president of the Republican National Committee. And now he's he's a spewing head on MSNBC. Hates Trump, hates Republicans, all for the mighty dollar.
Journalistic reasons, because of the lack of verification, we don't put unverified disinformation on.
It's not every day.
Your entire network is unverified disinformation. The fact that you said that was disinformation. Do they not understand that? The fact that they are putting out that they don't put out disinformation is disinformation itself.
Where you see a headline like former New York City mayor, president's personal lawyer, and longtime friend, White House was warned that Rudy was the target of Russian intelligence operation to feed misinformation to Trump.
My colleagues at the Post reported tonight a pretty explosive story, which is that U.S. intelligence agencies believed that.
Back to the U.S. intelligence agencies. You know, there's a few. There's FBI, NSA, CIA, and there's probably some we don't know about. You think these people are talking to this idiot? You think they're getting a phone call and telling him, or is he reading a script?
Rudy Giuliani was being worked over by Russian intelligence assets.
He was being worked over. Body blow, body blow. They're beating up on Rudy somewhere. They've got him in a basement somewhere like Jack in 24. And Jack in 24, he's got his hands tied behind his back and they're being worked over. Tell us right now, Rudy, where is the It's ridiculous. How did this stuff even get on the airwaves? Oh, that's right. They don't do disinformation. They only tell the truth.
As a conduit to feed misinformation to the president of the United States. Apparently, according to U.S. intelligence, the Russians were onto him and were using Giuliani's interest in Ukraine to feed him misinformation to to get to the president and to try to influence the American political process. And that's a big deal.
Serious questions tonight about the
Russians. The Russians are out here doing some stuff because they're talking to Giuliani.
Russians are using Rudy Giuliani to interfere in the U.S. presidential election.
No, they're using you, Wolf, because they've got their hands up your rear end because you're the one. You are another one. Let's take your name down and put it on a piece of paper. Where you at, Wolf? You've been found out. We all know now. You're full of crap.
Alex, there are fears that what Giuliani is now pushing here in the United States.
Oh, there were fears, all right.
Could actually be part of Russia's latest and very massive disinformation campaign in the U.S. presidential election.
Massive indeed, Wolf. We do know that it's a very active Russian campaign. That's according to the U.S.
According to the U.S. intelligence community.
Intelligence community, and that Rudy Giuliani already had open contact with a person that the U.S. has called an agent for the Kremlin. Now, we are being told by two people who've been briefed on what the FBI is doing.
Two people have briefed you and said that Rudy Giuliani is talking about this laptop and it's all disinformation. Who are these two people? Who are the two people? I know you'll never reveal your sources, but you see how easy it is? Oh, wait a second. I just got a note from a source. The CNN is full of crap. My source says. Got to take that as real, right? My source says these people are lying. But then again, I don't have to have a source. It's come out. It's been confirmed that they were all full of crap.
That they're looking into whether these unverified emails about Hunter Biden that were published earlier this week by the...
You know what's funny? I don't know if you know how easy it is to check metadata on a computer, on a piece of paper, on a document, to see if something is real. When they say unverified, that's for the unwashed masses who don't understand. As of today, and you should know, even back then, everything is verified. Everything. It's amazing to me how when that movie 2000 Mules came out, they completely disavowed cell phone tracking. Oh, that's just, you can't use that. And then it's become one of the biggest tools in law enforcement. But I guess it didn't work when you were doing tracking election box. It only works on these kind of crimes, not on these kind of crimes, says the media. They have no qualms about looking you in the face, stern faces, Wolf Blitzer type face, and lying to you.
New York Post about his business dealings in Ukraine and China are part of this bigger Russian disinformation effort in the 2020 election. Now, those efforts, according to the intelligence community, are to denigrate the Biden campaign and the former vice president in favor of President Trump.
They pulled out a full court press. When Miranda Devine and New York Post came out with this laptop story, they had no choice but to go all in, over the top, completely. Just push this entire thing on every single channel, basically 24/7. They had to do this because it was October and oh my God, what are we going to do? So at this point, we need to do everything we possibly can to shut this down. We have to shut this story down. And if it hurts a few people, who cares? We cannot have Trump win a second term.
Over the past few days, President Trump has highlighted a report by the New York Post about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. There are major questions about the origins and the accuracy of that story.
From who? What I'm doing when I say this stuff is so you understand when these people talk and they think they're talking from a place of authority. They're not. They're just making shit up along the way. Whatever's on the teleprompter, she's reading it. They don't care. They don't get paid to investigate. They get paid to talk to the camera, just to say whatever somebody else tells them. And now, years later, we're finding out they're all full of crap.
The president's personal attorney was peddling Russian disinformation.
Former senior intelligence official tells me that
intelligence officials.
President Trump was warned Giuliani's information was likely Russian disinformation by National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, CIA Director Gina Haspel.
Now, here's what they're really afraid of, and take this to the bank. Gina Haspel, CIA Director, she was basically appointed by Trump. Christopher Wray, appointed by Trump. Whoever was advising Trump told him to put these snakes in the grass. He relied on what these people said, all his close advisors, whoever they were. Hey, go ahead and bring in O'Brien as your NSA guy. Bring in Gina Haspel. Bring these people in. They're going to help you navigate these waters. You haven't been involved in government before. You're going to need some really, really good people. So we're going to help you put the right people in place. And they were all snakes, every single one of them. The reason being is, as I said in other videos, a president comes in on his first term, basically gets the lay of the land, figures out where things are going, because the objective is to get to the second term, because after you've learned in the first term, in the second term, that's when you light the buildings on fire. That's when you do and enact your agenda. They saw what Trump was compiling, and they're like, we can't let this guy get to a second term. If he gets to a second term, oh my God, we are all in deep poo-poo. We are deep into Dementia Joe's diaper, because if he gets into that second term, he's going to light it up. So they took the term away, and now they're terrified because it all has come out months before the 2024 election, and all of the things they did in 2020, they can no longer do in 2024 because you can't let them. You now have all this ammunition. You now can sit back and go, that's a lie, you're a liar. That's fake, you're a liar. You can point it out everywhere now. The FBI confirmed that the laptop was authentic. They're about to convict Hunter Biden on a whole bunch of stuff. They're about to bring Biden's brother in on charges. The whole thing is falling apart. They found the bank accounts. The media, they can continue to lie, but they can't lie to you because you now know the truth. You know now that you should have complied with a bunch of stuff that they made you comply with. You were being a good American. You thought your government was looking out for your best interest. Nah, they weren't. They were looking out for their best interest. They're the ones who would put it on and take it off and put it back on when the camera was on. They lied to you. Don't ever trust the media again. You now have reason to say, nope, fooled me once, you're not gonna fool me again. Y'all can just kiss my behind. I'm not listening to you. Turn off CNN, turn off MSNBC, in some instances turn off Fox, because there's only a few people who are going to tell you the truth. Notice today, June 6th, have any of these people stepped up to a microphone, looked in a camera and went, I was completely wrong, I shouldn't have said that to you? They haven't. Why haven't they? Because they don't care. They get paid either way, and they're going to keep pushing lies on you.
Director of National Intelligence Joe Maguire, White House counsel Pat Cipollone, Attorney General Bill Barr, all told the president not to trust Giuliani, and this was first reported, Judy, by the Washington. The Biden campaign says that this is Russian disinformation.
Karine Jean-Pierre, or I guess at that point it was Jen Psaki back then, circle back Jen, says, hey, this isn't true. It's not true. It's Russian disinformation. Oh my God, I can't wait for the debate. Can't wait.
New questions today about an unverified report in the New York Post on
Unverified. Say it again.
Joe Biden's son Hunter. Among them is Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer, tied to a Russian effort to influence the U.S. election.
That U.S. spy agencies have gathered intelligence that the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, was dealing with alleged Russian intelligence agents.
All right. Andrea, can I ask you a question? What you just said. U.S. spy agencies have told you, as you're reading, because we can see you reading the teleprompter, you just said these are spy agencies. So these are people who lie for a living. I know they're supposed to be doing national defense, but they lie for a living. They are trained on how to lie. They are trained on how to make you and motivate you to say what they want to say. And you did, dutifully. But now, Andrea, are you going to come on MSNBC and say, I was wrong, I was misled, was a victim of disinformation or whatever you want to call it?
Agencies. Last week, Giuliani and former Trump official Steve Bannon provided the New York Post with unverified emails.
By the way, today, as you're watching this video, about 20 minutes ago, they threw Bannon in jail. He's going to jail. He has to report on July 15th. It doesn't end till you get in that ballot box and make it end. That's why they're terrified of Trump. This is going to continue. They don't care that yesterday everything fell apart. Right now, they're still executing the plan, and Bannon goes to jail.
allegedly linking one of Hunter Biden's Ukrainian partners with a possible meeting with Joe Biden when he was vice president, a meeting the Biden campaign says never took place.
Dementia Joe said it never took place. You would think at this point, all of these media people who consider themselves credible voices would now realize you were lied to big time. This guy, Dementia Joe, and his people lied to you. They set you up. They made you look foolish. They've embarrassed you. How do you personally feel if somebody tells you something and they lie to you and then you find out afterwards it was a lie? Are you okay with it personally? Do you trust that person ever again? I've lost friends. I've walked away from people. I've walked away from business deals where the people could no longer be trusted. So you're telling me a major media networks in this country are okay with being played like fools? If they are, then you know they were complicit. That's why as I'm talking right now, I'm saying to you, these people are all complicit, because if it was you or me, right away you'd be like, when I get on air, I'm going to tell them you lied to me. But the fact is they're all quiet. Nobody brings it up. Nobody's talking about what happened. Jake Tapper, where you at, man? I know you've interacted with me on Twitter. What's going on? Now you know this is all BS. Why aren't you getting on camera going, tonight at 6 p.m. we're going to cover the story of how all of this was BS and how I was roped into this and lied to as well. You won't do it. You won't do it. You can't do it. You're a pawn. They own you. They own you, bro. Admit it.
Experts say the emails cannot be authenticated. Some may have been altered or are fake.
We have no idea whether or not the emails are legitimate, but this whole operation looks right out of the Kremlin playbook.
Where's that playbook? You got one? Who's got this Russian playbook that everybody keeps referring to? Just, they do this all the time. I mean, I know there was a lot of disinformation and deception back in the Cold War days. Right now, where's this playbook? In fact, I don't see much Russian information hitting the United States at all. I could be obtuse. I may not know what I'm looking at. It may be some posts that were put up I scroll past because, you know what, I'm a thinking, intelligent adult. I can think for myself. Hey, look at this. Oh, wait a minute. Joe Biden's got 3 heads and he's got an alien in the closet. No, I'm pretty sure that's not true. I can just go past that. Then again, today we see Joe get escorted off the stage yet again, hurriedly. We saw him take a lid when he got to Paris. Why? What's going on? Why is Joe having such problems traveling? Why do you have to get him off the stage, Jill? Oh, you don't talk about that stuff, but you talk about, all the other stuff.
Hack and dump.
Tonight, there are growing questions about the man once known as America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
They write so well, and they are so polished in the way they approach. You've got a beautiful woman sitting there looking quite demure, who just says the words, tonight. There are growing questions about America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani. I didn't read that. I heard what she said and just recited it back to you. I don't look like her. I don't smell like her. Of course, Dementia Joe would know that. But she just said it. She just said it very simply, and many people sitting at home, if this was the nightly news, they're watching, maybe eating their dinner. Hey, honey, did you hear what Rudy Giuliani did? That's how it began. It's that easy. She smiles at you, soothing voice, pretty woman, boom, gotcha.
And if he is being used by Russia to influence the 2020 presidential campaign.
President Trump on the attack today, going after Joe Biden and his family with dubious accusations.
Words. Attack, dubious. They know specifically how to deliver these messages. They use the right words to get you in a position where you're predisposed before they even play. Understand this, before they even play what Trump said, that you already know he's going to attack Joe Biden and it's going to be a dubious statement. According to her, she completely put it and set the stage for you. She didn't say Donald Trump had some words about the situation with Joe Biden and then cut to it. He attacked him and it was dubious. Barry, why do you keep pointing this out? Because you have to register and understand how the lies get promulgated, how the lies get put out there. It's all vocabulary. It's all delivery. It's all nicety. It just flows off their tongues and it just hits you into your brain. And right now she just set up what Trump is going to say as a dubious attack.
I'll tell you what, it's an organized crime family as far as I'm concerned.
The president is...
She let him say like a sentence. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, it's an organized crime family. That's a dubious attack. That's a dubious attack. Her words, not mine.
Referencing a tabloid newspaper story with emails purportedly...
The New York Post is now a tabloid. It's not a major newspaper in the United States. It doesn't have immense circulation. And you hear it? You're starting to hear about how these things are said so smoothly?
Swiped from the vice president's son, Hunter. But CBS News...
Swiped from the vice president's son. As you know, it was dropped off by Hunter at the computer repair shop. They knew that. She changed to swipe.
News has learned the president was personally warned by the National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, that the man who provided the information to the tabloid, his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, was the target of a Russian influence campaign aimed at discrediting Biden. CBS News has learned the FBI is now looking into whether the information found on the device may be part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
What's important right there for you to know is this report. Years ago, she said just now the FBI had the laptop. FBI is looking to authenticate it. They're looking to see if it's part of a Russian disinformation campaign. They knew the entire time. They all knew. Your law enforcement alphabet letter agencies lied to you and then kept going on with the perpetuation of this lie because they needed to shut Trump down.
This looks like Russian intelligence. This walks like Russian intelligence. This talks like Russian intelligence.
It looks, it walks, it just is. Take my word for it. I'm an idiot on MSNBC. I know better than you. I've seen these things before.
This effort by Rudy Giuliani and the New York Post and Steve Bannon to cook up supposed dirt on Joe Biden looks like a classic Russian playbook disinformation campaign. So when the intelligence community goes in and warns Donald Trump that Rudy Giuliani is being worked over by Russian intelligence, and then Rudy Giuliani suddenly comes forward with these mistakes.
So I'm showing this again because I want you to see the repetitiveness of what these people do. They get their talking points and then they go on show after show after show and say the exact same thing, because that's what the importance of propaganda is and how it has to be delivered. Again, you tell a lie over and over and a lot of people begin to believe it. That's what it's all about.
Seriously created emails, probably hacked through a Russian intelligence operation. We have to acknowledge the fact that the President of the United States is supporting, is condoning, is welcoming a Russian intelligence operation.
President of the United States, he's talking about Trump at that point, is welcoming, encouraging, condoning Russian disinformation. That got said on a national news network, a news network that many people tune into and supposedly trust. And this guy looked at the camera and completely lied.
In 2020, Nicole, this is collusion in plain sight.
This is, No, what you're doing is collusion in plain sight. So now this idiot, who you guys all know, Clapper, he sits back like he's, I know more than you do. I'm James Clapper. I've worked with the intelligence agencies forever. And then watch what he says.
Just classic textbook Soviet Russian tradecraft at work. The Russians have analyzed the target. They understand that the president and his enablers crave dirt on Vice President Biden, whether it's real or contrived.
Whether it's real or contrived, they crave dirt. As far as I know, from everything we've seen in politics over the last couple decades, you're always looking for dirt on your opponent. But you never have seen the coordinated activity that these guys put in place to basically cover up truth, not dirt. Truth. That's what the difference is. Yeah, we can find something in somebody's closet. Maybe we can use that against them. Do you know why that's so important? As you're hearing this is their modus operandi. They're using it against Trump in this instance. What have they dug up on XYZ politician, ABC politician? Oh, okay, we see he's done this. Okay, so we're not going to arrest you. We're just going to own you. So from the time you're here from now on, this is how you're going to vote. This is what you're going to say. Hey, Mr. Newscaster, yeah, we saw in 2010 that you did this or that. You remember? Because we can get into your phones. We can see everything. But we won't say anything. Just do what we say. Does that sound conspiratorial? Yeah, it does. Now, does it sound like it could be more and more reality? Yeah, it sure does.
Doesn't matter to them. And so all of a sudden, two and a half weeks before the election, this laptop appears somehow.
You know exactly how it appeared. He dropped it off at this computer repair store. Why are you trying to feign as if you don't know it just happened to appear? You know, and you obviously know, otherwise you're a horrible intelligence person. You knew everything Hunter was doing. This didn't surprise anybody. Understand, everybody who's, quote, in the intelligence agencies had to vet everything about Dementia Joe, including his wife, including his family, his son, everything. They all knew. You just don't show up at the White House and go, yeah, we're in here. They knew what kind of guy he was. They also knew they had to cover it up. We can't have this guy out there with half pornographic pictures, hookers all times of night, talking to drug dealers, doing it. We can't have that. We need to put the lid on this big time. Otherwise, you are incompetent as intelligence. An intelligence community who didn't know what Hunter Biden was doing is not intelligent. They all knew. You have to understand that. There is no possible way that these spooks, these guys that'll jump out the bushes, the guys that'll ride around in black helicopters, there's no way that they didn't know what Hunter Biden was doing. They absolutely knew. They just didn't think it was going to come out in the manner that it did.
Without emails on it without any metadata. It's all very curious. But so here you have a willing target, and the Russians, who are very sophisticated about how to exploit a willing target.
Now understand also, when people are saying we've heard from a couple intelligence community members, who are the ones you always see on television? Brennan and Clapper. James Clapper and John Brennan. They're always the ones who are on television. That's your two sources right there. All they have to do is collaborate and say, what are we telling them, Jim? I think we should tell them this or that. Okay, they'll believe it. They'll do what we say. Why? Because we're two guys from the intelligence community. All right, then do me this. Tell me why you two, stalwart, amazing, intelligence community, lifelong people, been there forever, you know everything. How did you not know about all the stuff Hunter was doing? Checkmate. You obviously knew. You kept it quiet, and you messed up because you might not have known that he left this laptop at some computer repair store. You may not have known, but you knew what was going on. You didn't know that he made copies and kept them on a computer at a hardware store, but you knew what he was doing. There's no possible way that our government did not know what Hunter Biden was doing. No possible.
And to me, that's what's at work here.
The FBI says this laptop is not Russian disinformation. So what are you talking about here? This laptop is real. It's not just the laptop. There's other emails. There's text messages. They are real. So according to the U.S. government, the FBI has verified this.
Everybody to look at that, but that's not what we're hearing from the FBI.
Why don't you want to report?
That's not what we're hearing from the FBI. We can't even discuss it. Christiana Amanpour, you're a paid shill. Everybody at this point needs to understand that. This woman has been at CNN, been in news forever. She is a paid shill. And what she just said is, that's not what I'm hearing. So you just took, all of a sudden, all of your investigative reporting, all the chops you built over a career, now you just rely on what certain people tell you.
This is one of the most powerful families in Washington. The Biden family. And you're okay? You're okay with our interests being...
Have you ever noticed a reporter to roll their eyes at you? She's sitting there going, I can't believe this blonde woman is just talking this crap. I just want to embarrass her and tell her, Jane, you ignorant such and such. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't even want to hear it. Christina Amanpour, is that how you say her name? Doesn't even want to hear it. Tired of it. Don't want to hear it. I got to get through this interview. Only reason I'm doing this interview is because I have to make it seem like I'm somewhat balanced, but I don't really care what you have to say.
Held out to profit Joe Biden and his family when we're suffering during a...
Look at her face. Liz, she don't want to hear it. She definitely doesn't even want to hear it. Doesn't even want to consider it. That's not journalism.
Pandemic from communist China. He's doing shady business deals with communist China. You're comfortable, okay?
As you know perfectly well, I'm a journalist and a
You can take that off of your nameplate. As you know perfectly well, you know me. I'm Wolf Blitzer. I'm Christiana Amanpour. I'm a journalist and you're not. What makes you a journalist? Because you've got a camera, you've got a microphone, you've traveled overseas. What makes you a journalist? What makes you more of a journalist than that woman you're talking to right there? What makes it that you know more than she does? Because I'm on CNN. I'm a journalist.
reporter and I follow the facts. And there has never been any issues in terms of corruption. Now, let me ask you.
There have never been. See, whenever somebody uses a superlative like that, that's when, the BS meter should be going off. What do you mean there's never been in the history of the annals of politics, there's never been any kind of corruption like that with the Biden? Wow.
This. Yesterday, the FBI.
Wait.
FBI.
How do you know that?
I'm talking about reporting and any evidence. I'm talking to you now.
Okay, I would love.
You mean evidence that you want, not evidence that she has or that most of us had.
If you guys would start doing that digging and start doing that verification.
No, we're not going to do your work for you. I want to ask you a question. The FBI,
it's a journalist's
job. We're not going to do any work here. And the blonde woman just goes, that's your entire job description. You're supposed to be an investigative journalist. Go investigate. I'm not going to do that. When did you stop being an investigative journalist? When did you stop? When did the dollars get to a certain point where you no longer left your cushy apartment in Manhattan or wherever you live and said, I'm not doing that anymore. I just read what these people give me.
It's a journalist's job to find out if this is verified.
Was that your laptop?
For real, I don't know.
I know, but you know.
You know if it's your laptop or not. I know where my laptop is. Are you kidding me?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. Maybe Hunter at that time wasn't lying because he's been so stoned out of his mind. He may not have remembered what he did with his dog the day before.
You don't know, yes or no, if the laptop
I don't have
was
any
yours.
idea. I have no idea.
So could have been yours.
Of course, certainly.
I have no idea, but of course it could be.
There could be a laptop out there that was stolen from me. There could be that I was hacked. It could be that it was Russian intelligence. It could be that it was stolen from me.
But it couldn't possibly have been that you dropped it off at a computer repair shop. You just did a whole bunch of things that it could be, but you never touched on the thing that it actually was, which tells me you're lying.
Didn't drop off a laptop to be repaired in Delaware?
No. Okay, she got him. She asked him specifically. She knew what it was all about. She came back with a proper question. I understand what you said it could be. Did you drop it off? Nah.
Not that I remember at all.
In October 2020, a New York Post article said that emails purportedly showing shady dealings in Ukraine by Hunter Biden were found on a laptop computer that he supposedly left in a Delaware repair shop in 2009.
Supposedly left in a Delaware repair shop. Again, semantics.
The details were sketchy at best. And last month, a declassified intelligence report said that before the election, the Russians had launched a smear campaign against Joe Biden. And
see how deep this went? Nice pretty document on official letterhead saying, hey, it's the Russians. You can go ahead and report this now because we, the three-letter agencies with all the logos there, we're telling you now that it was the Russian. Now this guy, this piece of crap here is just the best person out there for looking you in the eye and laughing. And I gotta believe, I have no proof, but I gotta believe he's got a ton of skeletons in his closet that he just doesn't want to get out.
All that this information Rudy Giuliani is peddling very well could be connected to some sort of Russian government disinformation campaign?
And the idea that the president, that the White House counsel and others were made. Well, we know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. That's been clear for well over a year now that they've been pushing this false narrative about the vice president and his son. Clearly, the origin.
We've known this for over a year. So not only is it a lie, but it's been going on for over a year. We all know it. Wolf, let me just tell you what's really the deal here. They've been doing this for over a year to the Biden family. Man, you don't even know how bad it is.
Of this whole smear are from the Kremlin, and the president is only too happy to have Kremlin help in trying to amplify it.
It's not like Rudy Giuliani is peddling this information in a vacuum, Congressman. Take a look at this picture of the president in the Oval Office holding up a copy of the New York Post touting this conspiracy theory. It's made it...
Conspiracy theory. He's touting it. Wolf, you just called it a conspiracy theory. Wow, man. Thank you for pointing it out to us that, us dweebs, that it was actually a conspiracy theory and that Trump was peddling it.
Its way all the way to the commander-in-chief with a big smile on his face.
Yes. Well, look, I think we know who the driving force behind this smear has been all along, and it's been the president and the Kremlin. The Kremlin has an obvious interest in denigrating Joe Biden. They want Donald Trump to win. They recognize he's a weak president. He's been utterly...
They recognize he's a weak president.
Unwilling to stand up to Putin and other autocrats. He has diminished NATO. He has criticized and weakened our alliance with our transatlantic partners. He's been the gift that doesn't stop giving for the Kremlin. So clearly they want to help him. So they want to denigrate the vice president. The intelligence community has made that abundantly clear.
Again, back to the intelligence community. So whoever, Clapper, Brennan, whoever is giving out this information, the three-letter agencies with all the logos, were doing a very, very huge propaganda, just pushing it all out there and telling these guys, get out there, get on these television shows and say this over and over and over. And again, none of them, as of today, have apologized for lying to the American people.
And this particular smear, though, has also been acknowledged to come from the Kremlin.
By who? I just hope people start understanding these people should not walk the street. I'm not talking about being violent. I think everywhere they go, they should be asked, why did you lie to us? You obviously didn't know crap. You made it up just to hurt Trump, just to protect Dementia Joe.
And there it is in the Oval Office, another wonderful propaganda coup for Vladimir Putin, seeing the President of the United States holding up a newspaper promoting Kremlin propaganda. It's really incredible.
The Washington Post, as you saw, is reporting that when the president was actually warned of concern.
There is no reporting, Wolf. I think at this point we all must understand there is no longer any, quote, reporting. All of us have keyboards. Every single one of us has a phone. We're walking around with the studio. These people are relying upon somebody else giving them a tip-off, some sort of messaging that they can then get on television and say, my sources, intelligence community, whatever. That's all they have to do to say and give them sort of credence on air. And right now we're watching that entire column fall apart. We now know they have lied to the American people probably for decades, but we know for sure, and we have tapes like this to prove that they've been lying for at least the last 4 years.
About Giuliani and where he was getting all this information, warned by U.S. intelligence, law enforcement authorities, the president simply shrugged his shoulders and responded, that's Rudy. How much is that part of the problem here, that the president, at least according to this reporting in the Washington Post, doesn't seem to care?
President doesn't seem to care. Are you actually serious? You're actually thinking that the president of the United States, who was Donald Trump at that time, doesn't care about Russian disinformation? Or perhaps what you thought didn't care was that he knew what you didn't know. Did you not think for an instant that maybe the president knows more than you, Wolf? Maybe the president had more information than you did. Did you not ever stop to think that could be the case? That Adam Schiff and all these other people don't have the information sources that Donald Trump had? May still have?
Well, it's a big part of the problem, and we know for a long time. Look, Rudy Giuliani doesn't run the president. The president runs Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani is doing the president's bidding. He was doing the president's bidding late last year and earlier this year in Ukraine. He was doing the president's bidding when he was meeting with an agent of the Kremlin he was doing the president's bidding when he was pushing out this smear and trying to get the Ukrainians.
I have a question. Adam, whose bidding are you doing right now? Not the people of California. Whose bidding have you been doing for years? Nobody seems to want to ask these questions. Whose bidding are you doing? You're obviously not working on behalf of the American people. So I would just like to know who it is that controls you.
To push out the smear of his opponent, because he was deathly afraid of being exactly where we are right now, which is less than 3 weeks from the election, losing badly to Joe Biden. But the fact that he would continue to do it, I guess at this point shouldn't surprise us. But this is the story of Donald Trump. Utter unwillingness to stand up to the Kremlin, a willingness to...
I just can't. I mean, at this point, the only reason why I've gone on for an hour right now is to let every one of you know you can't trust these people with another election season here. You just can't. Everything that they've said for at least 4 years is a lie, a complete lie. They keep lying. And as of today, which is, again, I'll keep saying this, none of them, not a single one, has apologized, even though all of this is completely fallen apart.
Use their help, no matter how dishonest and disreputable, a willingness to undermine our own elections by getting Kremlin help and amplifying it. And there's only one remedy at this point, and that's to vote him out.
He's so smooth. He didn't have a teleprompter. He is such a snake. He did that entire interview without even looking at any paperwork, because he is such a snake. He can just spew this stuff, spew this venom. He's been doing it for years, and nobody calls him out on it. Well, there's some people like Matt Gaetz. The Uniparty at this point, they just let this guy exist to be a complete propagandist.
Have you, as a member of the Gang of Eight, the top leadership in the Congress, the Senate, and the House, and members of the Intelligence Committee, have you been formally briefed on what the Russians are up to right now in trying to peddle this kind of information?
Now, great question, Wolf. And you have to know the words that he's going to answer before he answers, now knowing what you know, is going to be a lie. Why? Because the laptop was real. It's been real all along. The laptop is real. The news has been fake.
But we do know this. The Russians are once again actively involved in trying to denigrate the vice president.
He's lying. We now know he's lying.
Donald Trump is helping them.
He's lying. We now know he's lying.
And we know that they are amplifying the president's misinformation.
He's lying. And we know he's lying. Every single word.
About absentee ballots. This is another gift the president is giving the Russians. Unlike 2016, when the Russians had to make up this stuff, they now can simply use the president's own false statements and amplify them. It is extraordinary, Wolf, that a president of the United States is telling his own citizens and the rest of the world that America can't hold a free and fair election. The Kremlin just has to put...
Now what are they going to do? Now that all this is falling apart and that we're seeing so much of this, including the last thing he said, which I can't repeat because of the people upstairs, it's all falling apart. They've got nothing. And then you've got Dementia Joe pooping himself on stage, and you're expecting him to do something in a debate, and you can't get rid of him, because if you get rid of him, you'd have to put Kamala in, and you can't get rid of her because you'd lose the rest of the black vote. So now you're stuck. We know you're liars, and all you got is Dementia Joe. Good
push
luck.
Out that false narrative by the President of the United States.
Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much for joining us.
To call Biden a criminal. Why is that?
He is a criminal. Bingo. Truth. Now we know what he said was true. The reporters just didn't want to hear it.
Criminal. He got caught. Read his laptop. And you know who's a criminal? You're a criminal for not reporting it. You are a criminal for not reporting it. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden is a criminal, and he's been a criminal for a long time. And you're a criminal in the media for not reporting it. Good luck, everybody. Have a good time.
The president has said,
you people didn't report it on purpose. You fraudulently misled the American people on purpose for a political purpose. Yeah, purpose twice. Now we've got Circle Back Jen, who's going to wrap this up.
and you have tweeted that allegations of wrongdoing based on files pulled from Hunter Biden's laptop are Russian disinformation. There is a new book by a Politico reporter that finds some of the files on there are genuine. Is the White House still going with Russian disinformation?
So now that's, of course, Peter Doocy from Fox, who says it's been somewhat authenticated Are you still going to lie to the American people and say this is somehow some kind of Russian disinformation?
I think it's broadly known and widely known, Peter, that there was a broad range of Russian disinformation back in 2020.
Just look them in the face, calmly, smoothly. These people are good. You have to give it to them. They have found some of the best people out there. She was very good. Karine Jean-Pierre, she ain't any good. You can't even look at her and think credible. You look at Jen Psaki, she didn't even put, there was no emotion on her face, which is scary. There was no emotion on her face. She just looked right back at him, looked in his eye, and lied to him. Coolly, shrewdly. Russian disinformation, bro.
This is classic Trump. We have 4 days left, and all of a sudden there's a laptop. There's overwhelming evidence that from the intelligence community that the Russians are engaged.
I still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation at a smear campaign.
For my father to tell me that the New York Times is calling, but my old partner Eric, who literally has done me harm for I don't know how long, is the one taking the calls because my father will not stop sending the calls to Eric. I have another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of the, literally, Dr. Patrick Go, the fucking spy chief of China, who started the company that my partner, who was worth $323 billion, founded. It is now missing. The richest man in the world is missing, who was my partner. He was missing since I last saw him in his $58 million apartment and signed a $4 billion deal to build the fucking largest fucking LNG port in the world. I am receiving calls from the Southern District of New York, from the U.S. Attorney himself. My best friend in business, Devin, has named me as a witness without telling me in a criminal case, and my father without telling me.
All of that, and I didn't even include the other big lie involving that little elf Fauci. And we found out that was all BS as well. What that little elf and his minions did needs to be included in the fraud that was perpetrated on the American people. I'd tell you more, but that's still not safe to talk about here. But fortunately for the people in the government and the media who participated in this collusion, I don't think Trump is gonna seek revenge. As they say, that dish of revenge is best served cold, like an appetizer. What you just saw was the reason for Trump to seek retribution, not revenge. And if you believe in the power of the Lord, what we should all be praying for is that each and every one of these people meets with a reckoning. I personally believe that Trump will win in November, and then he can usher in massive retribution. And then we just need to pray that God will deliver the reckoning that these people deserve. May God have mercy on their souls. But in this life, Trump should show no mercy whatsoever. Let me know if you agree. Hey, just want to let you know that Donald Trump announced he's holding another rally, his first rally since a conviction. He's going to be doing it in Las Vegas on Sunday, June 9th. I'm going to go live at 2:30. If you'd like to join me, just click the button right here to be notified when I go live. And if you've been on any of my live broadcasts, you know we have a ton of fun. Hope to see you there. Click the button to be registered so you know when I go live. Talk to you soon.